Welcome to Tuntum Network, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Cyrus. These are sad days for the continent of Africa. My topic today is on South Africa. It's a concern on how South Africa is treating other African nationals, and specifically on how South African youth are killing and destroying the businesses of other black Africans living and working in their country. I have lived in South Africa and worked there for 2 years. And everything I'm going to share with you guys is either from personal experiences or things that were told me by eyewitnesses who saw these horrific events happen. It's a well-developed country. Don't get me wrong. South Africa is very beautiful. In terms of infrastructure and roads and all that, it's a beautiful place I recommend for anybody to travel and see. In Cape Town, in Gauteng, they are very beautiful people. There are 4 major ethnic groups in South Africa. They have the 80% black majority, the coloureds, the whites, the Chinese, and the Indians. The nation suffered apartheid in the hands of the white minority for nearly 5 decades, during which we all prayed for South Africa. However, the apartheid ended in 1994 when Nelson Mandela was made president of South Africa. So what is happening with the black South African folks turning on other black African nationals working in their country? Specifically on Nigeria, Ghana, Cameroon, Zambia, and all the other African countries around them. What is going on? What is the cause of these recurring situation where every now and then we see them killing and looting and destroying the properties of these black African nationals living in their country? I have a few thoughts on them and I want to share with you guys. Let's go. This episode is brought to you by EM Gold Wines Intesano. They are the importers and distributors of 12 different brands of wine from Spain and Italy. They sell at wholesale prices, and I'm sure when you call them, they'll make you a very good offer. When I lived in South Africa, I was taken in by a stranger who took me to Freedom Park in Soweto. When we arrived in Freedom Park, I could see how the young men who were just sitting around idle were salivating at me. And this host of mine would tell me, just keep your head straight and walk with me. We went in and stayed with him and his grandfather for nearly 2 weeks. They were so kind to me. From there, I moved to Yeoville, and then later on moved to Braamfontein. In Yeoville, I started seeing how people were attacked in the street, especially in the corners at dawn and at night. One time, I was walking to Braamfontein, and I would see how a white lady was stabbed with a knife at the traffic light, which they call robot, and her phone taken from her. People would look on and do nothing. I went to town once with a Nigerian friend. I'll share that story with you. We got ransacked in the middle of Park Station, if anybody knows where Park Station is. It was about 12 young boys carrying 2 silver guns and a few knives. We were surrounded by them. They opened our bags. They emptied our pockets. They saw our passports. They opened mine first. They saw I'm a Ghanaian. That's how they pronounce it. They gave my passport back to me. When they opened my Nigerian friend's bag, they saw he was a Nigerian. They took the bag and the passport away. I was shivering. I walked straight to this Ghanaian man that I knew who sold leather bags in the corner. I went to him and I told him my story. He said to me, "Welcome to South Africa." From that time on, I would see people being attacked here and there every now and then when I walked in the street. What surprised me the most was most people will look on, especially during the daytime, and they will do nothing to intervene. And that got me really surprised. Now, why are they killing other black African nationals living and working in their country? Because they will break into their shops, steal everything in there, and sometimes kill whoever they find there during that process. What is the reason behind this? I'll share with you a story that I experienced, very dramatic one in Braamfontein. I went to visit this Ghanaian-owned barber shop one day. It was around 7 p.m. When I got there, I could see the very thick blinders, okay, lowered all the way down, but I could see light in the room. I'll bang on the gate and nobody will respond. The next day I came, they told me we were lying on the floor with guns pointed to our heads. South African black males complain that we, the black Africans, which I find it quite strange when they refer to us as Africans as though they were not Africans or they are not Africans, are taking away their jobs, their opportunities, their women, and we are bringing in drugs into their country. Firstly, those accusations are not entirely true. Most black foreigners you find in South Africa, 99% of the time, are doing their own businesses. They came in there with a little, but started something and now making it big. Go to Joburg and see how many other black African men and women are struggling with all manner of trades to survive. They sell used clothes, shoes, vegetables. They are into hairdressing and barber shops, doing all forms of informal jobs to survive. It's a very small percentage of black foreigners who go to South Africa with the hope of finding a corporate job or even a factory job, especially for people who come from West Africa. Again, South Africa is one country in Africa that I commend a lot, whether in public or in private sector, for how they consider their people first in any business or any opportunity. But the challenge is very simple. Every private business, especially at the managerial level, will offer positions to the most qualified and not based on origin, when its priority is to maximize profit. I took a short course while I was there, and surprisingly, out of the 40 plus people taking the course, only 2 females were South African national. You cannot just want or wish to be in a position or be put in a higher position. You will have to qualify for it, have the work experience required, and the right work ethic. Any non-South African you see holding any position in South Africa have these 3 things intact. Maybe instead of complaining for lack of opportunities, you should focus on what will give you an upper hand. I think this is where the South African youth have overlooked for so many years. Your women are beautiful. Everybody knows that. Men like beautiful things, and everybody also knows that. Out of your almost 60 million population, men make up about 29.5 million, and women are about 30.5 million. You have such a large number of homosexuals, which deducts from the potential husbands for women. So you now have more than 1% disparity of women who will have to find husbands and live their lives. What is wrong with other African nationals marrying your women? It's common in Accra today, but you still complain that the foreigners aren't just taking your women, but the very fine ones. Wena, who will choose the worst when the best is available? This phenomenon is everywhere. On the issue of drugs, listen, drugs are not peculiar to just South Africa. It is an international problem because the kinds of powers behind the peddling of drugs are so powerful. So when you remove one Nigerian, you have not really solved the problem. You have rather opened up space for another to continue. You have to look at the root cause of the problem. Who are those in charge of your ports, your airports, and your harbors? The people at the top hierarchy of your customs and excise. Because this is the point of entry. And this is where you have to look at in order to deal with the problem than rather generalizing it. When you call other black African nationals kwere, which is a derogatory term used on an unwanted black person in your country, you are literally insulting yourself and the rest of Africa for the support we offered you during your time of oppression. I don't think this is the South Africa Madiba had in mind when he was fighting for freedom. The ANC party hasn't done much to bring closure to this persistent problem. The only person who stands up for Africans is Julius Malema of the EFF, and I applaud him for that. He has demonstrated that he is a true Pan-Africanist. What is President Cyril Ramaphosa doing about this? What is your take on this? Does John Henry Steenhuisen, leader of the Democratic Alliance, DA, in support of this? Inkatha Freedom Party's Vilain Kosini, Fiki Hilabisa, what are you doing about this? Do you care about what happens to the peace and safety of black people living on your land? Or is it benefiting your cause? In the words of late Desmond Tutu, exclusion is never the way forward on our shared path to freedom and justice. Racism is not the way forward. Discrimination is not the way forward. And certainly, xenophobia is not the way forward. Every cosmopolitan city faces same issues of competition for resources, opportunities, and relevance. It's same thing for London, New York City, San Francisco, Beijing, Berlin, Paris, and all the major cities. Big cities attract competent and tough people from all around the world. So get used to it. Compete and stop the attacks. Get further education. Get experience. Explore the world. Your country is a beacon of hope. It's attractive. And like a nectar, all manner of flies will come around it. I'll share this story with you before I conclude. So a day before I will leave South Africa for Ghana, I decided to go and see this Ghanaian man who sold the leather bags on the outskirts of Park Station, only to arrive there and see an obituary on the wall. He had been shot 3 times and killed by armed robbers who attacked him at a shop. The heart is deceitful above all things and desperately wicked. Who can know it? May God have mercy on the continent and heal the hearts of its people from the trauma of the past and the pressures of our now, and for the many innocent souls that have been cut short in their pursuit for a better lives for themselves and their families. Until we come your way again, remember to like, share, subscribe, and leave a comment. Thank you, and bye-bye for now.